Have you ever noticed how the universe loves to play mind games with us? Say you buy a new car. Let's go with a blue Jeep. Before you signed the paperwork, a blue Jeep was a rare, exotic creature. But the second you drive it off the lot, boom. Suddenly, every third person in your city is driving your exact car. It's a glitch in the matrix. Did the dealership run a midnight buy one, get one sale you didn't hear about? Oh, of course they didn't. The world didn't change, your perception did. You programmed your internal GPS to look for blue Jeeps. Now, changing gears for a second, personally, I'd always rather be lucky than good. But if you can manage to be lucky and good, well, now you're just showing off. But it makes you wonder, what is luck? There's this fantastic study where researchers looked at people who considered themselves born lucky versus people who felt like they were cursed by the universe. At the end of the study, the researchers placed a $20 bill on the ground by the exit, just sitting there waiting for a home. And guess what happened? Almost every single lucky person found the $20 and probably bought themselves a latte. The unlucky people walked right over it. 0 out of 10. Not a single one noticed. Were the lucky people blessed by the universe? Or were they keeping their eyes open instead of staring at their shoes? I think life is exactly like that sidewalk. The lucky breaks we get are usually the opportunities that we bother to notice. And the secret ingredient to noticing them is not a magic spell. It's curiosity. So keep your head up. There's a $20 bill waiting for you out there today, or even better, an opportunity. We usually talk about curiosity like it's a genetic lottery ticket. Like some people are born naturally curious, and other people are just content knowing that the microwave makes the food hot, and that's a deep enough mystery for them. I think curiosity is a skill. It's like a muscle, which means you can absolutely train it. And you don't need a gym membership to train it, but a shameless plug, coming to Breathwork does help. Curiosity, being open, or wonder will change your life because your entire future is basically playing hide and seek inside the questions you're not asking. Socrates was onto this. He said, "Wonder is the beginning of wisdom." And I love that quote. We generally never even think about wonder. And curiosity is for kids. Wonder is standing there going, I wonder if there's more to this. Curiosity is grabbing a flashlight and saying, all right, let's go find out. Wonder unlocks the door, and curiosity is the one that walks through it. Awareness is what you discover on the inside, and hopefully not a ghost. Wonder is what you feel when you look up at a beautiful starry night sky. I remember the first time I saw the Milky Way. I was on a camping trip, was probably 12 years old. We were in this valley. It was dark at night, and I looked up and saw the Milky Way for the very first time that I can remember. And I remember looking at it and going, holy crap, what is that? And the scoutmaster going, that's the Milky Way. I was like, oh, I guess the name makes sense now. That all snaps into focus.
It's like a Snickers without these terrible peanuts in it.
But it was truly awe-inspiring to see that for the first time. And that's wonder, is when you get to see something magnificent like that. Curiosity is what makes a nerd in a garage build a giant telescope to see exactly what those shiny dots are doing. One is vibing with the possibilities, and the other is active exploration. And when you team them up, that's where magic happens. That's how you start paying attention to the world. And that brings us to the holy grail of personal growth. We've all been told that self-awareness is about finding the answers. But honestly, it starts with asking better questions. Most people think personal growth is like downloading a software update of endless knowledge. I don't think that. I think it's about interrogating yourself like a detective in a crime drama. You have to start asking things like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Why did that minor comment bother me so much? What fragile ego belief am I trying to protect here? Or my personal favorite, what else could be true, assuming I'm not the absolute center of the universe? Those questions change the whole game because curiosity will always choose a messy discovery over a comfortable certainty. The worst kind of knowledge is to know something that isn't so. We've all met that know-it-all guy, the guy who confidently spouts some wildly incorrect, fabricated fact, smiles at you and says, "Ha, I bet you didn't know that." My best reply is, I still don't. Because being loud and being confident are not the same thing as being right. Certainty is not wisdom. In fact, the more I learn about the world, the more I realize I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And that can be depressing, but it's also incredibly freeing. Real humility isn't about self-loathing or thinking you suck. It's about admitting the boundaries of what you currently understand. Look at kids. They get this instinctively. Have you ever spent 5 minutes with a 4-year-old? It's a nonstop, rapid-fire interrogation. Why is the sky blue? Why do dogs bark? Why do you have a big nose? Maybe I'm the only person that gets asked that a lot.
Why does your face look so stupid?
That too. But as adults, we stop asking. Not because we suddenly got a million times smarter, but because we got certain. Somewhere along the line, we decided, yep, I've seen enough. I know how the world works. And we stop exploring. We start treating our opinions like a castle we have to defend instead of a map we're supposed to be exploring. And that is exactly where growth goes to die. Because the second you convince yourself you've arrived, you stop discovering. Growth ends the moment curiosity ends. Now, if you want a real life hack, curiosity isn't for merely learning facts. It is the ultimate emotional superpower. Think about what happens when life throws a wrench in your gears. Most of us immediately launch into Judge Judy mode. We start telling ourselves, this shouldn't be happening. I'm broken. I'm failing at adulthood, but judgment and condemnation completely slams the door shut. Curiosity is the thing that cracks it back open. So instead of pointing a finger at yourself and asking, what is wrong with me? Try asking, what is this mess trying to teach me? Instead of screaming, how do I make this awful feeling stop right now? Ask, what is this feeling trying to get me to notice? Changing the question completely flips the script on the entire experience. And here's a cool psychological glitch I've noticed. Curiosity and judgment are like oil and water. They physically cannot exist in your brain at the exact same time. Go ahead. Try being deeply, genuinely curious about why you're mad while simultaneously screaming at yourself for being mad. You can't do it. Curiosity creates this beautiful little pocket of breathing room, and that space is exactly where awareness starts to grow. It's also where compassion comes from. Sometimes I'm asked why compassion comes before curiosity in our Breath.Energy framework, and the answer is pretty simple. Compassion softens our defenses and allows us to trust. And because the moment we stop aggressively fighting ourselves is the moment that we finally become curious enough to understand ourselves. Sometimes, curiosity invites compassion to the party, and other times, compassion opens the door for curiosity. They're basically locked in this beautiful, continuous dance.
Do you know the explore-exploit dilemma?
No, tell me.
There was this old math problem. It's really kind of a puzzle. The problem was an executive is going to interview 100 potential secretary candidates. And the question is, which one should he hire? So once you interview a candidate, you can't go back to them. If you hired the first candidate you saw, you're missing out on all the other people that you could have interviewed. If you interview all 100, then you know exactly what the distribution of candidates look like, but you're stuck with the last one that you see. At what point do you stop exploring and hire one? Essentially, the answer, when you know the number of candidates, is you interview the first third and don't hire any of them. And then you take whatever you learn in that first third, and then whoever the next best person is, best relative to the first third, you hire that one. It's called the explore-exploit dilemma because the explore phase is gathering information about what's out there. And then the exploit is given that information that you've gathered go exploit that information. And one that's way more relatable to people is when you move to a new city and you're trying to find good restaurants, it's all explore. There's no exploit. Like, you should basically never go to the same restaurant twice in the first 6 months that you live in a city. On the last night before you move away from a city, there is no value in exploration. You should only go to the best restaurant you've been to. People have mapped this onto lots of different scenarios, and there's a strong working theory that as organizations or individuals or animals are nearing the end of life, they shift into exploit mode. When you stop growing, you start dying. When you stop exploring, growth ends. The giving up exploring and beginning to exploit is almost like an unconscious admission. This ride's coming to an end.
When you stop exploring, there's no potential anymore. So that makes...
But that also tracks for one of the reasons behind why we become less curious as we get older.
Right.
We think, I've already explored. I've explored all the things. You just found the things that you like.
A 4-year-old has no idea what to exploit yet. So it's all questions. Why does the dog bark? Why does your face look weird?
Yeah.
All the things. So as a person who has ample curiosity and doesn't know what it's like to not be deeply curious about most things, how do people practice this or train this? Or
No, we're going there next.
Sweet.
And this, my friends, is exactly where Breathwork struts onto the stage wearing his superhero cape.
For the low, low price of $19.95.
It is not that low. Stress completely shrinks your world. It gives you tunnel vision while a sense of safety does the exact opposite. It blows the walls wide open. When your nervous system thinks it's under attack, it is only asking one panicked basic question: how do I not die right now? It is definitely not asking, ooh, what exciting career opportunities am I missing out on today? Or, what beautiful life lesson can I harvest from this absolute disaster? No, it's just trying to survive. And that's the real tragedy of chronic stress. It shrinks you. Your breathing gets shallow, your attention gets tiny, and pretty soon your entire life feels like a cramped closet. Because how you breathe is literally how you live. And when you dive into conscious connected breath work, it's like hitting the reset button. As your breathing starts to crack open, your nervous system finally goes, oh, cool. The saber-toothed tiger isn't actually coming for us. We're safe. And the second that safety kicks in, your awareness expands. Suddenly, stuff you completely blocked out starts bubbling up to the surface. Emotions, old memories, sudden light bulbs, insights, and new possibilities. Now, the breath didn't magically manufacture these things. They weren't missing. They were buried under a mountain of stress and static. And the breath cleans the windshield so you can see the road. The answers were always there. You didn't have the password to access them. It's funny, one of the common things that people tell me during a deep breathwork session is, I'm scared. Years ago, back when I thought I had to be the all-knowing guru guide, I'd immediately try to fix it. I'd use my best-soothing voice and say, shh, you're safe. Everything is totally fine. And sometimes that worked, but most of the time it fell flat. Eventually, I realized I needed to stop giving answers and start asking better questions. So now when someone says they're scared, I ask, what is it you're afraid of? And sometimes they know right away, but most of the time, like a lot of the times, they pause, look inward and go, I don't know. And that right there is the exact moment real awareness begins. And almost every time, the moment they become curious about themselves, the fear starts to change. Not because I handed them so profound piece of advice, but because a little bit of curiosity helped them hunt down the truth for themselves. Because at the end of the day, the questions invite awareness. When we're given advice, that usually creates resistance. Here's my official homework assignment for your next breathwork session. Don't go into it chasing some wild, out-of-body cosmic experience. Instead, have a clear intention. Become the observer and ask, show me what I've been actively avoiding. What old, dusty belief, am I finally ready to evict from my brain, or teach me something entirely new about myself? And then connect one breath to the next breath. You don't have to force anything. There's no right or wrong. Just allow. There are no straight A breathwork students. And just be genuinely curious.
Disagree. My report card looks pretty good.
Josh grading his own report card.
Although
Everybody is self-grading their test. Josh got an A+.
perfect score.
I have reviewed me and I have done well.
Not been found wanting.
When we started this thing and you reviewed the fundamentals, I went into breathwork and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm actually very good at this.
Yeah, I had the same experience.
C+.
Alex Hormozy was on Chris Williamson's show recently, and Chris would read off one of Alex's quotes to him, and Alex would basically go, "Yeah, I agree with me. That's a good quote. That's good stuff." I'm like, I recognize that entirely. Here's something you said, Jake. What do you think? That's top quality content. that is good stuff. Well done, me. I agree with me.
I do like Hormozy's, the change you seek is in the work you're avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the painful, hard road in breathwork. If you're going for the curiosity thing, where when you feel the resistance, maybe steer into the skid a little bit and see where that takes you.
Big time.
Yeah, that was one of Anthony Robbins' things back in the 80s when he had cassette tapes. One of his big asks was, what are the 5 things you've been procrastinating? Do them this week. And it was like, ugh.
How about 2?
But that was, well, it may have been the 90s because I was drinking by then. That was a life-changing ask.
Wait, did he go by Anthony Robbins back in the day?
No, oh yeah.
Because he's been Tony Robbins as far as
since
I've ever known.
Yeah.
When it was, so this would have been Awaken the Giant. I think may have been his first book or his second book. But what he was doing infomercials.
And he was going by Anthony?
He was going by it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dad was really
my
into
instinct
him. He had his books everywhere.
My instinct was to totally call you out because, like, you remember when Anthony Bourdain died and all the people were like, "Oh, me and Tony." Like, you didn't call him Tony. You did not know. You were not on that first name basis. But then my curiosity queued up, and I was like, "Wait, did Tony Robbins used to go by Anthony?" So I asked instead of just being a jerk about it.
Did.
I figured that was the case.
This reminds me of a story. I was training with the CrossFit Games first champion, James Fitzgerald. Yeah, I was.
That guy was fit.
He was. Yeah, he won the first CrossFit Games. I was training with him one day, and we were doing a rowing exercise, and I was watching him on the rower. And there is a very established classical technique to rowing in which it is you push with your legs, lean with your back, pull with your arms extend, your back leans forward, and then you pull your legs forward. And he was taking very short, like his legs would barely slide forward, and then he'd take a big exaggerated lean, and then he would lean back and then push with his legs and pull. And I was watching him do that, and because I'm the awesome CrossFit coach that I am, I thought, why is he doing that wrong? And then I thought, you know what? He's won the CrossFit Games, and you're super mid.
You're a real midwit.
Yeah, you're a real midwit on the fitness here. So I asked him about it afterwards. I was like, hey, what's the reasoning behind why you were rowing that way? And he was like, oh, this was a quad dominant workout with thrusters and rowing. So I was saving my quads and using my hamstrings on the rower instead.
Yeah.
I was like,
CrossFit was the
Holy crap.
committing to trying to be okay at CrossFit was very confrontational to the way that I had learned how to do things. And the way you do that versus how you're going to do that same movement technically, but 30 times and paired with something else is not necessarily the same.
Yeah.
Once you can approach that with the curiosity of, is there a better way to do this movement given the other things I have to do at the same time?
we talk about do the job to spec, do the job to specification. What are the specifications of this job? It's plus or minus this. I don't need to do it perfectly. I just need to do it to the specifications of what this requirement is, not the perfect one that makes me look pretty of how I learned it.
Not even, you're making it sound like it's just good enough, but I would argue that it's better because the spec is actually in that rowing thruster workout, the spec is actually do the rowing and the thrusters.
Correct.
So given
That's
that you
the
have to
spec.
do those two things, you might want to do them aware of each other.
Correct.
So
That is being aware of the specifications. And when I built and refinished furniture, we worked on a lot of high-end stuff, like $20,000 and $30,000 beds and furniture. And this was back in the 80s, so that was real money. And I remember one day I agreed to do a job for a friend and was going to charge him like $200 to refinish this side table. And I was working on it like it was one of our normal pieces. And my buddy pushed me out of the way and said, "You charge this guy $200. And like buzzsaw through it in 5 minutes, was like, "We're done, moving on." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, did the job to spec. This guy doesn't get a $20,000 finish. He gets a $200 finish."
Makes a lot of sense.
look at that lesson in self-awareness.
I'm going to read the poem, so maybe
Okay.
that'll upset you.
You still got a
Next
chance.
time.
Yeah. So this is The Mirror by Sarah T. I looked into the glass today and saw a stranger there, a modern woman, thin and gray, with stress upon her hair. But when I looked into her eyes, the stranger flew away, and out of them looked back at me the child of yesterday, the child who wondered at the sky and questioned every star, and asked the birds how they could fly and why the mountains are. And that was The Mirror by Sarah Teasdale. Questions invite awareness. Giving advice usually just invites resistance. Sarah captured this exact internal investigation beautifully when she wrote about looking into her own reflection and seeing a stranger, someone worn down, certain, heavy with the dull and stress of the mundane. But she writes, the child of yesterday, the child who wondered at the sky and questioned every star and asked the birds how they could fly and why the mountains are. That child is the unique little weirdo your chronic stress tried to bury under a mountain of static. When you slip on your inner detective hat and step into the breathing mat, you are clearing the windshield so you can finally lock eyes with that child of yesterday. Maybe your future isn't hiding from you. Maybe it's been sitting on the sidewalk in plain sight this whole time, waiting for you to ask a better question. Wonder reminds us that the universe is way bigger than our current to-do lists. Awareness helps us spot the $20 bill right at our feet. And creativity, which is exactly where we are heading next on this journey, is what allows us to build something incredible out of whatever we find. So stay curious, ask better questions, breathe deeply, because every single step of self-awareness starts with a question. Your future has been waiting for a better question. How you breathe is how you live. Take a big open breath.